Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Love English Lab, the place where you learn to speak English naturally and confidently. I'm David, and today I'm here with Charlotte.
Hi, everyone. I'm so happy to be here. Today's topic is one of those things that confuses almost every English learner at some point: how to use would, should, and could correctly.
Yes, these three words are everywhere in English. They're short, they sound similar, and they often appear in the same types of sentences, so it's easy to mix them up,
Exactly. But once you understand their meanings and how they change depending on the situation, everything becomes much clearer.
right? And the good news is that these words are super useful. Native speakers use them every day in conversations, not just in formal English.
Yes, you'll hear them in movies, songs, and everyday talk. They're what make your English sound polite, natural, and fluent.
That's true. For example, could helps you sound polite when asking for something. Could you help me? Sounds much softer than can you help me?
Exactly. And should is great for giving advice. You should try this restaurant or you shouldn't stay up so late.
And then there's would, which is often used to talk about imagined situations, like I would travel more if I had the time.
Yes. So even though they look similar, each one has its own personality.
I like that. Their own personality. Could is polite and possible, should is about advice or expectations, and would is about imagination and intention.
Perfect summary. And once you get the feeling of each one, you'll start using them without even thinking.
That's what we want, to help you stop translating and start feeling English.
Exactly. In this episode, we'll break down each word, what it means, when to use it, and how native speakers really use it in everyday life.
We'll go step by step with clear examples and simple explanations, so by the end, you'll finally understand when to use would, should, and could, and you'll feel confident using them too.
And maybe you'll even start noticing how often people use them in movies or conversations. Once you start listening carefully, you'll realize they're everywhere.
Yes, these three words may look small, but they're powerful. They can completely change the tone of your sentence.
That's right. So if you want to sound more polite, more natural, and more fluent, this lesson is definitely for you.
Let's dive in and start with the first one. Could.
Great idea. Let's go.
So let's start with the first word, could. I think it's one of the most flexible words in English. It can express possibility, politeness, or even ability in the past.
Yes, and that's why it's also one of the most confusing. The meaning changes depending on what you're trying to say. But don't worry, we'll take it one step at a time.
Perfect. So first, could as a past form of can. For example, if I say, when I was a child, I could swim very well, that means I was able to do it in the past.
Right. You're not saying you can do it now, you're describing ability in the past. It's just the past version of can.
Exactly. So can becomes could when you're talking about the past, but that's just one meaning.
Yes. The second one is possibility, when something might happen or could happen. For example, it could rain later,
That's a good one. You're not saying it will rain, just that it's possible.
right? It's softer than saying it will rain. You're showing that you're not completely sure.
I think this is where learners start to see how could adds a feeling. It makes your sentence sound more thoughtful, more careful.
Exactly. You can use could when you don't want to sound too direct or too sure. Like, we could go out tonight or I could call her later.
That's true. It's a great way to make suggestions without sounding pushy.
Yes, saying, we could go to the park sounds friendly and open, while let's go to the park sounds stronger.
I like that. It's a softener of English. It makes ideas sound polite and flexible.
Speaking of polite, that's the third common use of could. Making polite requests or questions.
Yes, like, could you help me? Or could I have a glass of water, please?
Exactly. It's a softer version of can you help me?
Right. Can you is fine, it's friendly and direct, but could you sounds more polite, especially with people you don't know well?
That's true. You'd probably say, can you pass the salt? to a friend, but could you please pass the salt? In a restaurant or at a meeting.
It's all about tone and situation. Could makes you sound kind and respectful.
Yes. And that's one reason native speakers use it so often. It's one of the easiest ways to make your English sound polite and natural.
Exactly. And you can also use could for suggestions. Like, you could try this app or you could read this book.
Yes, that's a great one. It's softer than saying, you should try this. You're not giving advice, you're offering an option.
Right. Could opens possibilities while should gives direction.
I like that explanation. Could opens doors, should points to one.
Nice metaphor. So, to recap, could is used for three main ideas. 1. Past ability, I could run fast when I was younger. 2. Possibility, it could rain later. 3. Politeness or suggestions. Could you help me? Or you could try this place.
Perfect summary. And what I love about could is that it's not about being formal or informal, it just makes your English sound smoother and more natural.
Yes, and you'll notice that fluent speakers use could instead of can in situations where they want to sound gentle or uncertain.
Exactly. For example, instead of saying, can I ask you something? They might say, could I ask you something? It's just a little softer, but it changes the tone completely.
Right? It's like emotional grammar, it changes how people feel when they hear you.
That's such a great way to describe it. Grammar isn't only about structure, it's about connection.
Exactly. So when you use could correctly, you're not only using grammar, you're learning how to sound kind, respectful, and confident in English.
That's the goal, not just to speak correctly, but to speak naturally.
Perfectly said.
So now that we've looked at could, let's move to the next one, should.
Yes. Should is all about advice, responsibility, and expectations.
Right? It tells people what's best or what's right, but in a polite way.
Let's explore that in the next chapter.
So, David, now that we've talked about could, let's move on to another really common word, should.
Yes, should is everywhere in English. It's one of those words that can completely change the meaning or tone of a sentence.
Exactly. And even though it's small, it's very powerful. You can use it to give advice, to express expectations, or to talk about what's right or wrong.
Let's start with the most common use, giving advice. When we say should, we're usually telling someone what's a good idea.
Right. For example, you should drink more water, or you should study a little every day.
Yes, you're not ordering the person, you're suggesting something that will help them.
That's the beauty of should. It's softer than an order, but stronger than a simple idea.
Exactly. It's like saying, if you want the best result, this is the way to go.
Right. So when you use should for advice, you're showing care, you're trying to help someone.
And you can use the negative form too. You shouldn't. For example, you shouldn't skip breakfast or you shouldn't stay up too late.
Yes. And it sounds polite, not judgmental. It's just a gentle way of saying what's not a good idea.
Another way we use should is for expectations. Things we think are likely to happen or are supposed to happen.
Right? Like when you say, the train should arrive at 9, or he should be here soon.
Exactly. You're not 100% sure, but you believe it's expected.
It's similar to saying probably or I think so, but with a bit more confidence.
Yes, so should often expresses what's normal or reasonable to expect.
For example, if someone says, you should get your test results tomorrow, it means that's what's expected, not guaranteed, but likely.
Right? And that's an important difference between should and must.
Exactly. Must means something is certain or necessary. Should means it's expected or advisable, but not absolute.
That's a really useful way to think about it.
Another use of should is for moral advice, talking about what's right or wrong.
Oh, yes, like people should respect each other or we should help those in need.
Yes. In those examples, you're not giving personal advice. You're expressing what you think is morally right.
It's interesting how should can sound both soft and strong, depending on how you use it.
Exactly. If I say, you should call your mom, it's friendly advice. But if I say, you should be honest, it sounds more serious, like a value.
That's true. It's one of those words that carries emotion.
Yes. It's polite, but it still has weight.
And I think learners sometimes forget how much tone matters with should. The same sentence can sound kind or strict depending on how you say it.
Yes, absolutely. You should try this dessert. Sounds friendly and excited, but you should apologize. Sounds serious.
Exactly. Same grammar, totally different feeling.
That's why I always tell students, don't just learn the structure. Listen to how people say it.
Yes, because should isn't only grammar, it's about emotion and attitude.
I love that. And here's another thing learners ask about, the phrase I should have.
Yes, that's when you talk about something you regret. For example, I should have studied harder or I should have left earlier.
Right? You're talking about something in the past that you didn't do and now you wish you had.
And the negative form is I shouldn't have. Like, I shouldn't have eaten so much cake.
Exactly. It's a really common way to express regret, something we all feel sometimes.
Yes, and it's one of those expressions that makes your English sound very natural.
So, to summarize, 1. Should for advice, you should rest more. 2. Should for expectations, the movie should start soon. 3. Should for moral ideas, we should be kind. 4. Should have for regret, I should have called you.
Perfect summary, Charlotte.
Thanks. And the best part is that once you understand should, you can use it in almost any kind of conversation, serious, polite, or casual.
Exactly. It's simple but incredibly useful.
So now that we've mastered should, let's move to the last one, would.
Yes, would is all about imagination, intention, and politeness.
It's also one of the most common words native speakers use, so understanding it really helps you sound fluent.
Let's get into it in the next chapter. So, Charlotte, we've talked about could and should, and now it's time for the third one, would.
Yes, would is such an interesting word. It shows up in so many sentences, and yet, it often confuses learners because it has several meanings.
Exactly. The good news is, once you understand the feeling behind would, it becomes much easier to use.
Right? So, let's start with the first and most common use, imagination. We use would to talk about situations that are unreal or hypothetical.
Yes. For example, I would travel the world if I had more money. That means I don't have the money right now, but I'm imagining what I'd do if I did.
Exactly. So when you see if and would in the same sentence, it usually means you're describing an imagined or impossible situation.
Right. It's like saying, in another world, this could happen.
I love that. It's a very creative part of English because it lets you dream, imagine, and express possibilities.
And it's used in everyday life. People say things like, I'd buy a bigger car if I had kids, or I'd move to the beach if I could.
Yes. And notice you said I'd, the short form of I would. That's how native speakers usually say it.
Exactly. You almost never hear someone say I would like in a casual conversation. They say I'd like.
Right. And that brings us to another common use, politeness. We use would to sound more gentle or formal when asking or offering something.
Yes. For example, would you like some coffee? Or would you mind helping me?
Those sentences sound warm and polite. If you said, do you want coffee? It's not rude, but it's much more direct.
Exactly. Would adds a layer of kindness and respect. It's a great way to sound natural and well-mannered in English.
And you can also use it for polite offers, like I'd love to help, or I'd be happy to join you.
Yes, those expressions sound so natural. They show friendliness and willingness without sounding too strong.
Exactly. So far, we've seen would in two main ways, imagination and politeness. But there's another common use, past habits or repeated actions.
Oh yes, many learners don't realize that. You can use would to describe things you did regularly in the past.
For example, when I was a kid, I would visit my grandparents every summer.
Exactly. It's very similar to used to.
Yes, but would focuses more on repetition, things that happened many times. Used to can describe both habits and states, while would is just for actions.
That's a great distinction. For example, you can say, I used to live in New York, but not, I would live in New York, because living is a state, not an action.
Right? But you can say, when I lived in New York, I would go to Central Park every weekend.
Exactly. That's the perfect use of would for past habits.
So now we have three main meanings. 1. Would for imagination, I'd buy a boat if I had the money. 2. Would for politeness, would you like to join us? 3. Would for past habits. When I was young, I'd ride my bike every day.
Perfect summary. And I think what confuses people is that would also appears in other grammar forms, like reported speech. For example, he said he would call me.
Yes, that's true. But the key idea doesn't change. Would always expresses something a little distant. Not now, not certain, not direct.
That's such a good way to see it. Would is the word of distance. It softens time, tone, and reality.
Exactly. It creates space. Space for imagination, for politeness, for reflection.
I love that. And it also makes English sound smoother. For example, I'd love to visit someday sounds much more natural than I love to visit someday.
Yes, because I'd love sounds warmer and more tentative, like you're expressing interest without pressure.
Exactly. And the contraction D makes it flow easily in speech.
Right. So, to our listeners, if you want your English to sound more fluent, try using I'd instead of I will or I love in those soft expressions.
Yes. And one more thing, would is great for expressing preferences. For example, I'd rather stay home tonight means you prefer to stay home.
That's such a useful structure. I'd rather plus base verb, like I'd rather eat at home or I'd rather watch a movie.
It's another example of how would expresses your personal choice politely and naturally.
Exactly. It's polite, emotional, and very common in daily English.
So, to summarize again, would helps you sound polite, describe the past, and imagine different situations.
Yes, it's one of those words that really adds depth to your English.
Absolutely. And the best way to master it is by listening for it in conversations and movies. The more you hear it, the more naturally you'll start using it.
That's great advice. And in our final chapter, we'll review all three words, would, should, and could, and show how they work together in real situations.
Perfect. Let's wrap it up there.
So, David, we've already learned how to use could for possibility and politeness, should for advice and expectations, and would for imagination and politeness. Now, let's see how they actually work together in real life.
Yes, because in real conversations, these words often appear in the same situations, and understanding the difference between them makes your English sound clear and confident.
Exactly. Let's start with an example. Imagine someone says, I could go to the gym tonight, but I should probably finish my homework.
That's perfect. In that sentence, could means it's possible, the person has the option to go, and should means it's the better choice, what's recommended.
Right? So could opens possibilities and should guides you toward the best one.
Exactly. And then if that person adds, I would go if I didn't have so much work, they're using would to imagine a different situation.
Yes, that's a great example of how these three words connect. One shows possibility, one gives advice, and one expresses imagination.
Right. So you could think of them like this. Could is like saying I'm able to. Should is like saying it's a good idea to. Would is like saying I'd like to, but maybe I can't right now.
I love that summary. It's simple and easy to remember.
Another example, let's say your friend is sick. You might say you should rest today. That's advice.
Right. And maybe your friend answers, I could rest, but I'd rather finish this project.
Exactly. Could shows they have the option and would shows their choice or preference.
It's amazing how much emotion and meaning you can express with just these small words.
Yes. And here's another everyday example. At a restaurant, you might tell the waiter, Could I have a glass of water, please?
That's could for politeness.
Right. And if the waiter offers dessert, you might say, I would love some chocolate cake, but I should probably stop eating sugar.
That's a perfect combination. Would shows desire and should adds a little guilt, like you know it's right, but you don't want to do it.
Exactly. It's so natural because that's how people really think, torn between what's possible, what's right, and what they want.
Yes. These three words reflect real life, choices, advice, and imagination.
And I think that's why it's so important to feel their difference, not just memorize grammar rules.
Absolutely. Grammar explains, but feeling teaches.
I like that. So maybe we can show a few more short examples for our listeners.
Good idea. Let's do a quick practice together. I'll say a situation and we'll use each word for it.
Perfect.
Situation 1, it's raining outside. Could, we could stay in and watch a movie. Should, we should probably take an umbrella if we go out. Would, I would go for a walk if it weren't raining.
Nice. Each one expresses a slightly different idea, possibility, advice, and imagination.
Exactly. Let's try another. You're thinking about learning to play the guitar. Could, I could take lessons online. Should, I should practice at least 30 minutes a day. Would, I would love to play at a concert someday.
That's such a clear example, and you can feel how each one creates a different tone.
Yes, could opens options, should gives direction, and would expresses dreams or goals.
That's a great formula to remember.
Another quick one, you're late for work. Could, I could call my boss and explain. Should, I should leave earlier next time. Would, I would take a taxi if I had enough money.
Perfect. Each word adds its own meaning, ability, responsibility, and imagination.
Yes. And what I love about these examples is that they show how you can combine them naturally in real conversations.
Exactly. You don't have to separate grammar from life, they go together.
Right? And when you use could, should, and would correctly, your English becomes more emotional, more polite, and more expressive.
Yes, because you're not just translating anymore, you're thinking in English.
That's the real goal. Fluency isn't just knowing the rules, it's knowing the feeling behind the words.
Exactly. And these three words, would, should, and could, are some of the most emotional words in English.
Yes, they show your personality, your politeness, your attitude, even your dreams.
Beautifully said. So, to everyone listening, try practicing them in small sentences every day.
Yes. Think of real situations in your life and use these words to express your thoughts.
For example, I could study English today, I should review my notes, and I would watch a movie in English tonight.
Exactly. That's the perfect trio to practice daily.
And soon you'll notice that you start using them automatically, just like native speakers do.
That's when you know you're really improving.
In the final reflection, we'll wrap everything up and talk about how mastering would, should, and could can completely change your confidence in English.
Great. Let's finish strong. You know, David, I think this episode shows something really beautiful, that grammar isn't just about structure. It's about expressing yourself clearly, kindly, and naturally.
Exactly. Words like would, should, and could may seem small, but they shape how we communicate, how polite, confident, or thoughtful we sound.
Yes. And once you start feeling the difference between them, English becomes easier. You stop worrying about grammar and start using it naturally.
That's true. You don't have to think, which one should I use? You just feel it.
Right? Because each one has its own energy. Could is soft and possible, should is responsible and guiding, and would is emotional and imaginative.
I love that. It's like they represent three parts of you: what you can do, what you ought to do, and what you dream of doing.
That's such a great way to see it. And when you combine them, you can express almost anything in English.
Yes, you can give advice, show politeness, talk about options, and even describe your hopes, all with just 3 words.
And the best part is that native speakers use them every single day. So by mastering these, you're learning real, living English.
Exactly. They're the foundation of polite emotional communication.
And I think that's something many learners forget. Fluency isn't about big words, it's about using simple words in powerful ways.
That's right. You don't need complicated vocabulary to sound fluent. You just need to use the small words that matter, naturally and confidently.
Yes. And when you do, people will notice. They'll think, wow, that person sounds really natural in English.
Absolutely. Because it's not just what you say, it's how you say it.
Exactly. These three words, would, should, and could, make your sentences sound warmer, kinder, and more human.
And that's what communication is really about: connection, not perfection.
I love that. Because sometimes learners focus too much on rules and forget the purpose to connect with people.
Yes. And when you learn to use these words naturally, you can connect with confidence and authenticity.
So, to everyone listening, don't try to memorize everything. Instead, start using these words in real situations.
Say to yourself things like, I could practice English today, I should call my friend, I would love to visit New York someday.
That's perfect. Small sentences like those build habits, and habits create fluency.
Exactly. Because fluency doesn't come from studying for hours, it comes from using English a little every day.
Yes, and every time you use would, should, or could correctly, you're building confidence.
And that confidence will stay with you even when you make mistakes because you'll know you're communicating with care.
I think that's the best message we can leave today. English isn't about being perfect, it's about being brave, polite, and expressive.
Well said, Charlotte.
Thank you. And thank you, everyone, for learning with us today.
Keep practicing, keep smiling, and remember, every small step in English counts.
You're doing great.
See you in the next episode of Love English Lab.